Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk Assassin's Creed, your number one podcast for all things Assassin's Creed. Now, today's episode, we are going to look back at Origins, but this time we're going to look at it through the eyes of Aya and how the game could have been different if we had Aya as the lead. Now, I'm not alone today. I am joined by our best friend and partner of the show, Ash from AC Landmarks.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
It's a lot louder than I expected for my mic tonight.
Oh, I'm super hyped for this podcast.
So am I. So today's episode we're going to be it's a weird one because I did do a podcast ages and ages ago on how I assumed that Bayek was perfect for Origins. And for the story we have now, he is perfect, as the game is now. Because in the game now we have a father who's lost his son on a huge revenge trip, uncovers a great conspiracy that is threatening his country, that suddenly births the brotherhood that we all have come to know. But there's one woman who did the most changing thing we can know in the AC community, in the AC lore, and that is Aya. She is known since Assassin's Creed 2 to be a great assassin. She killed Cleopatra and she killed Caesar, and she's the most pivotal woman in the series. And I want to know, what could have Origins been like if we had Aya from the beginning? What if the stories that we heard where Bayek may have been killed and we then led up with Aya, what could have we ended up with? And I would love to hear your thoughts first, mate.
First of all praise Amunet. Second of all, I love Aya as a character in AC Origins. I think she would have had a better potential as in a bigger role, of course. But with the story that we had, we grew up to love Bayek with it. But I feel like she just missed a chance because Ubisoft execs thought she's a woman and she doesn't deserve that when she does. I mean, it's Amunet we're talking about. This woman literally birthed the creed, and she started it.
And she started it, and I think one of the most important factors for Origins, from what I even think about from the news, is if she'd witnessed Bayek's death, she'd already lost a son, now she's lost her husband. She could have gone on this revenge trip herself, but it could have been deeper. She could have allied herself with Cleopatra because she felt alone. And I think it would have made a lot more sense to see her rise and potentially fall in little places when she's going against the Order because it's so new to her. But it would make sense because we know of her heritage, that she's destined to be a great assassin from what we know in 2. And it would have just made a huge, perfect tie into the story of a great assassin who is immortalized in the villa in number 2 is making the creed in Origins. That's just perfect.
Yeah, and imagine if we got to play the whole game as her. Her son died. Her husband died midpoint. Or whenever he would die, and then she would build this connection with Cleopatra, but Cleopatra would betray her for Caesar because, well, historical accuracy. Cleopatra favored Caesar, and then she would feel betrayed for that, and we would feel more validation to hate Cleopatra, and it would explain why she would kill Cleopatra later on um, in the game, maybe in future games, with her.
I do agree, and it saddens me to say that Ubisoft missed a step because when we first see in the Villa and Assassin's Creed 2 that Amunet is immortalized, there's this strong assassin that's done something legendary to be immortalized, is then given a smaller backseat. I do feel her importance is there because we see her going to and from Rome. We know she has connections in Rome. We see her kill two of the most important people in history at that time. So we can see her making a dent on the world. And just that's all it was. It was just a dent when it could have been an impact that you saw the Creed rise because of her. You knew why she was immortalized. You knew why the assassins revere her as a legendary assassin. And to me, that was missed, and it's unfortunate because we would have loved to see a game like this. I still would now.
Yes, I do. I do agree with you. It's if you would see Aya's confession scene in Origins, I believe I believe she had two. It was Septimius and it was Julius Caesar. Um, when she assassinated them, she was confident and she was like, I rule this confessions and I have taken your life, and you have met my blade, and like, she owned up to the fact that she was an assassin, and like, and she would do it in like, stealthy ways, like when she killed Caesar. um I just love Aya's confession scenes more because they scream Assassin's Creed to me, whereas Bayek, dude, I love Bayek so much, and I see myself in him, and uh, in him so much too. But like, as much as I love the blood and gore of bashing Medunamun's head with the apple, you know, that was Bayek's emotions playing out. Like that was not Assassin's Creed for me, but it was deserving because what they did to Camus was really unfair. What they did to Bayek was really unfair, but the game really shined when Amunet's confession scenes were there. Yeah, and it just exhilarated us when Bayek, got angry, and he was, bashing heads. Oh, I love them both so much. Like, I don't want to talk bad about Bayek, and like, I'm not gonna talk bad about Bayek because he's a great character. It's just the way the world works, the way the real world works, they're not equalized.
I think for me as well, and this is touching back on Origins as it is now, I love to see in Origins, when you meet her, you can see that devotion and care she has for Bayek, but you can also see this whole cause that she's fighting for is strong in her heart as well, and that just showed the type of character she is, and it's that sort of character depth that if you have time to grow with, you are given an immersive character. If we look at Ezio, we were given that playful, that cheery character that grew into this broody, as I like to call him, assassin who is one of the most revered assassins and one of a lot of fans' favorites. And as we know from Origins now, Aya's traits was a strong, confident woman ready to do anything for her cause, but she was a loving woman to her son. She was devoted to her husband, and she had those character traits ready to shine. And let's say after the greatest speech in gaming history, where Bayek kills the first Order of Ancients, if after then she witnessed Bayek's death, you would have felt more emotion, more pain, more hatred towards the ancients, and give her more life to why she created the creed.
Yeah, I feel like what you say what you say is true, and I agree with it, and it's like it would have given Aya more character if her husband was dead too, and like she's a loving mother, yes, but I don't feel like Assassin's Creed Origins gave enough credit to how loving of a mother she is, because whenever Camus was mentioned in the talks that she had with Bayek, and whenever Bayek would bring up Camus, she would just sideline that conversation and focus at the task at hand, and then show a little affection, and then it's back to the same business. Like I didn't see the caring mother in her in the games as much. So I would have loved to seen more of that, because a mother losing a child, that's traumatic. Like that's so traumatic, and and, and yeah, like I would have loved to see her lose the child. Like I've seen uh, like AC Origins hacks where people play as Aya, and there's this scene between her in a Bayek skin, telling Camus to jump, or her meeting Camus in like the confessions, with like a Bayek skin, and it's Bayek's voice. Just seeing the skins interact with each other, but like it's Bayek's voice. There's that bittersweet moment where I'm like, this sells more to me, because I care about the mother-son relationship.
I do, and I think it is a hard one because when we played Origins, we had giving the story, and I think this story, as I did explain in an older episode, was built for Bayek, and I think if they went back and in time and they gave us an Aya lead, I don't hand on heart believe that the story we got for Bayek would have been Aya's story. I think Aya's story would have had the same emotional impact that Assassin's Creed 2 had, and I think it would have resonated with a lot more fans because we would have saw the Creed being born, and such amazing to see that between Bayek and Aya. But I think with how they're able to do map traversal with the DLC, where we had the maps for the afterlife and the map for the game, they could have had maps between Rome and Egypt later on, and that would have shown her impact and her influence that would ultimately lead up to being immortalized in that statue.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you can't make a DLC of Rome. That's too big of a DLC. That needs to be its own game, basically. And like I kind of agree with you on that. Like if they gave Aya a story, it would have been different from Bayek's. But I mean, I feel like Assassin's Creed didn't didn't want to do the same thing as Assassin's Creed 2 did, like, death of the family, vengeance. Um, they they added a different kind of sting into the heart of the fans when they took only Kemu away. This was a paternal. This was you know a fatherly figure losing his son. It wasn't a son losing his family. This was a father losing his son, and that brings a different kind of emotion inside the heart. And whenever I first saw that, I don't know, it just made me cry, and I didn't even know Bayek, but it reminded me of when I felt like that sense of revenge in me when I saw Ezio's family die, and it was the same. It was the same emotion, but in like a different sort of level. Between those two games, they could have taken Bayek's moment and made it Aya's story of how she lost her son, and that would have given the same emotion um towards the game. And maybe they could have killed by later on. But I'm going off a tangent here. My main thing is, if Bayek and Aya saw their son's death, that would have been better instead of just Bayek seeing it.
I can understand that. It would have been a more pivotal moment. But sadly, a lot of this is speculation. And it's really sad to say that this is speculation because nothing was put in concrete. We do know from an article that it was rumored Bayek could have been killed off later on or early on. So it is possible we could have got another emotional impact that would have driven Aya. But from what we know, from what we do have, sorry, carry on.
Like a double whammy,
Yeah,
um, uh, like that would have been different from Assassin's Creed 2 as well. Like two big losses in one game.
it would have been pivotal. And I think it's sad to say that we have to speculate because, as I was going to say, when you look at the lore and everything that was fleshed up with Aya, you do see that Aya has the potential to be a really strong, impactful character that could resonate with a lot of fans. And I think there's enough talk about what Origins could have been, but I think the next steps would always be to talk about what could be next for Aya. Because I don't think it's fair that there's no conclusion to Aya's story. I feel like there is more. We know she killed Cleo and Caesar, but I still don't know why she's in that villa in Assassin's Creed 2. I know it's for her actions, but did she help forward the movement in Rome that would create the Brotherhood Ezio would once join?
Well, from you're asking a historian over here, this question. So I'll give you a history of what will follow on and how Aya can be in this in this sort of environment, because I feel like she would definitely be an amazing addition to the Roman Empire. That's going to be birthed after Caesar's death, and like that that movement literally starts a year after Caesar's death, because Augustus, like in that time known as Octavian, um, he takes center stage, and every money that Julius Caesar had is now under his compensation. So um, he will be devoted to Caesar's vision, basically. So we could see Octavian be a kind of a Templar, uh, or like or become part of the Order of the Ancients. But then Octavian was this guy that he did what his mind set him to do. He was like an opportunistic kind of figure, which I feel like Alfred in Assassin's Creed Valhalla will be as well. Like he won't be completely for the Order of the Ancients. He will favor his desires basically. But um, I see Aya, going against Octavian and against Cleopatra, and then when Octavian, needs Cleopatra out of the picture, so he can get Egypt for himself, maybe Aya and Octavian can see eye to eye and get rid of Cleopatra because she's being fed this Order of the Ancients kind of knowledge, and she needs to be taken out, and that's how it links together because the Second Triumvirate, it formed in November 26, 43 BC, and the game can go until the Battle of Actium and see Cleopatra dead, and that's how it can finish. Yeah, and all this you can be in the Roman Empire, experiencing it through next gen. That's so cool.
It would be cool, and I personally think, and I could be wrong, and I hope to God I'm wrong, but with how the timelines are flowing, with how Odyssey flowed from Origins and how Valhalla's flowing from Odyssey, I don't see Ubisoft quite yet jumping back to Aya's timeline and just adding a new game to complete Aya's story. I want it to happen. I'm gonna keep badgering until they do something. So if they're not willing at this moment to just jump back into Aya's timeline, I would love them to do a movie, just like Embers or just like Lineage. It's not the best idea, no, but to give Aya's story a much deserved telling, I would love to see Embers or Lineage created in that format for Aya, telling her story, her rise to power with the Brotherhood, and maybe even seeing the actual Italian Brotherhood or the Roman Brotherhood be created for the first time with Aya.
Yeah, um, that that will be amazing. But I mean, this new move to include women in Assassin's Creed is very new. AC Sisterhood is very new, and we've seen Ubisoft respecting AC Sisterhood and moving forward with marketing women in their video games, and that's great. But it's gonna take time to make that video game. That's what I hope people understand, because right now, what video games they have under development, they've been under development for years, and like I really hope the fans don't give don't like underestimate Assassin's Creed in like the next installment, because you see the marketing move in a better picture over here right now. Like they're they're respecting equality amongst men and women in their marketing, and that's great. So I'm definitely hoping for an Assassin's Creed game, a full-fledged game with Aya in the future. But like, I don't think a film will like Embers will do her justice, because we've not spent a lot of time with Aya. We spent a lot of time with Ezio, and that's why a short film about his later life was so sweet to us. But we need to spend more time with Aya, you know?
I I do. I'm 100% agree. The reason I came up with the idea of Lineages and Ember is because they're the only, except for the full-fledged movie, I could think about that support the idea of continuing Aya's storyline. It's just Ubisoft was dead set against Egypt as a setting originally. They did say Egypt was boring, and then they suddenly went
Boy,
back.
were they wrong.
Yeah, and then they suddenly went back to Egypt, and it's just my knowledge of how the games have always evolved. I really want them to go back and finish Aya's storyline and give it a well-deserved "this is what we should have done" moment. But realistically, on how they're handling the timelines in the game, and with it being hinted that Valhalla would tie all the loose ends up from one till Valhalla, it's becoming unlikely they're going to revisit old games. But there's still so many stories that need telling, and Ayas is a story that needs telling more than anything. And if they're not going to go back to the games, I think they could honor it in even if they took that new Netflix animation they were supposed to be doing, even if they took that and give us a full Aya storyline from start to end, that would work. Maybe it's not ideal, I know. It's just what can they do now they're pushing themselves forward.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Darby tweeting about like no, not tweeting about, he mentioned somewhere, I forgot where he mentioned this. He mentioned somewhere that the idea was, as the Empire, I think he mentioned it on JV's video. Check out JV's video interview with Darby, where the idea is, as the Roman Empire was growing, Aya the Assassin Order, Aya formed, was growing with it, and I would love to see how Aya, grew this network of assassins, together, and I would love to see that happening. Possibly, like, no pressure, Darby. If you can write this story, please do. Thing like, uh, I I really want Darby to write this, because like, he's the only one I trust in writing Assassin's Creed. And and then there's Corey May, but Corey May left. But yeah, but if you would come back, Corey, that'll be great. Yeah, but man, I I just love to see an Amunet story, and you know, just for her to be given justice for holding onto this Assassin's Creed.
And I really think we could go in circles looking at thoughts, theories, and what's next for Aya, but I think we can all agree that this idea that women don't sell is wrong. We know it's not about selling in my eyes. We know that women in Assassin's Creed can make impactful stories and people will love them. And I think Ubisoft needs to see that Aya could have been the best thing for the franchise. I think Syndicate could have deserved more attention for Evie. I think Cassandra should have been the only protagonist for Odyssey. But with Aya, they missed the mark, sadly, because I do believe that Aya is so perfect for that game, and it would have made more sense lore-wise for us to have Aya.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. Women need to be represented in video games right now. Like, come on, we have Aloy. We have Ellie. Those and those are just a few of the awesome women in video games right now that are selling like crazy, by the way. And Assassin's Creed has Aya, and she's a very rare gem in the AC franchise. Just I'm pretty sure people will 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 buy a video game with Aya or any woman, because um, the times the times have to change, and they have changed. We love women in video games. Thing like Horizon Zero Dawn is one of my favorite video games, and that's because of Aloy. She makes the game so much brighter for me. And I would just love for Aya to be given the same treatment, because I really care about Aya. Ever since like I got to see her in AC Origins, and ever since I knew she's Amunet.
I agree, and I think something I did bring up to a friend of mine is I think Ubisoft needs to stop looking at this whole business side of what sells, because you don't need to look at a game and say, right, because this doesn't sell, let's not make it. You should make a game because you want to tell the story, because you want to be diverse, because you want to try something new. And I just personally think in the future, if they want to make a female Assassin's Creed, they shouldn't think, is it going to sell? Because that's not important. What's important is delivering unique, diverse, and open stories.
Yeah, I mean, Naughty Dog didn't think, oh, is a video game with two women leads gonna sell? No, they just made the game. They just made the game and it sold.
And that's a philosophy Ubisoft should make. We know we've been told since the first of the game that the games are made by a team of multicultural people, and it's a diverse team that makes them. So please make your
Yeah,
games as diverse as the team that makes them.
exactly. We need diverse games, and we we need equality in video games.
And sadly, I think that's all we've got time for tonight. But before we go, we're not done yet. I would like to announce the winner of the AC Let's Talk comp. Please do not shoot me, because I know you are in our server, but it's Amaya Nocturna. Please tell me I pronounced that right. She's going to kill me.
You said it right.
Thank God she's not going to kill me. I will be posting. I'll be posting the amazing shot she took. I'm not going to spoil what she took. Under this, when this tweet goes out, and I want to thank her again, and I will put it on Instagram as soon as I can. It needs updated. Thanks again to our partner,
Good job,
Ash, for coming back.
Good job. I really love that.
I did too. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I want to keep that image. I might put it on my desktop on PlayStation.
Yeah, yeah. I really really love that Aya photo mode. It's so unique.
Photo mode
unique.
Photo mode unique. Right. So thank you again for all tuning in. It was a really good talk.
Thank you for having me.
yeah, thank you for coming back. And this just means that you'll be coming back more often if I can drag you on the show.
Oh yeah, I would love to.
Right.
And I just want to mention this too. Uh, thank you to Culprate and Memento Gallery for pushing forward this message for AC Sisterhood, and for equality in video games. You guys are really, really strong leaders, and we are blessed to have you in the Assassin's Creed community as our leaders.
And AC Let's Talk will be behind the AC Sisterhood every step of the way.
And so will Creed Landmarks.
So this is all. Thank guys. Tune in next week for a surprise topic that I haven't picked out yet.
Awesome.